Okay, what I want you guys to do is to work each problem. When you finish the problem, pause the video and then check your answer. So right now I want you to complete problem 1, pause the video. When you're finished with number 1, then start the video back. Okay, number 1 asks you to complete the square and to write the resulting expression as a binomial squared. So when you're completing the square, you have to take half of your linear term. That means the term that has an x, not an x squared, but an x multiplied by a number. So you take half of that number. So negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. And then you take that negative 7 and square it, which gives you 49. That's the number that goes in the blank. But it says to write the resulting expression as a binomial squared. So now you factor this. This factors into two binomials, and it should be the same binomial. What will multiply to give you 49 and add to give you negative 14? That's negative 7 and negative 7. So you're going to write this as a binomial squared. Okay, pause the video and do number 2. Number 2 asks you to find the zeros using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is at the top of your page. First, make sure it's in standard form, which it is, and set it equal to 0. 3x squared plus 5x plus 1. It does not matter if 0 is on the right or the left. Now pick out A, B, and C. A is 3, that's the coefficient of your squared term. B is 5, the coefficient of the linear term. And C is 1, your constant term. Now substitute those values into your quadratic formula. So you have the opposite of B, which would be negative 5, plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4 times A, which is 3, times C, which is 1, all over 2 times A. Now simplify what's under the radical next. So just bring the negative 5 over, as well as the plus or minus, and the 2 times 3 is 6 in the denominator. Now, 5 squared is 25, and negative 4 times 3 times 1 is negative 12. Now subtract 12 from 25, and you get negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 13 all over 6. Pause the video and do number 3. Number 3 asks you to find the zeros of the function. Remember, zeros, roots, solutions are all the same. So I need to factor this. So factor into two binomials. X squared means you're going to have x times x, and we need to know what will give me a product of 8 and a sum of negative 6. And those two factors are negative 4 and negative 2. Now set each of those factors equal to 0 and solve. So you're going to add 4 to each side. So x is 4. Add 2 to each side, and x is 2. Okay, pause the video. Okay, number 4 says to solve the equation by completing the square. When you're solving by completing the square, all your x terms need to be on one side, your constant term on the other. So I need to add this 6x to each side. X squared and 6x are not like terms, so I need to write them down beside each other. I cannot combine those. Leave a space to complete the square. Okay, and just like in the first one, I need to take half of my linear term, which is 6. Half of 6 is 3, and then square that. And that's what you're going to add to each side of the equation. Whatever you add to one side, you must add to the other. Now we've created a perfect trinomial on the left. What that means is this is going to be a binomial squared. And the shortcut on how to get that is the square root of the first term, the square root of x squared is x, the sign of the middle term, positive, and the square root of the constant term, 3. And then on the right-hand side, you add those together. So I have x plus 3 squared equals 36. Now take the square root of each side, and I have x plus 3 equals plus or minus 6. Now we still have to solve this for x, so I'm going to subtract 3 from each side, and I have x equals negative 3 plus or minus 6. Do not leave it there. You need to split this up into negative 3 plus 6 and negative 3 minus 6. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3. Negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9. So those are your, that's your zeros, your roots, your solutions are positive 3 and negative 9. That's how you find it by completing the square. Pause the video and do number 5. Number 5 asks you to solve by factoring. If you're going to solve by factoring, like all quadratics, you need to get it set equal to 0. So I'm going to add 11x and add 12 to each side. I like for my squared term to be positive. That's why I'm moving everything to the right side. Let me write it over here. So I'm going to add 11x and I'm going to add 12 to each side. That gives me a 0. Again, it doesn't matter which side the 0 is on. 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. All right, now you have to factor that. That is a squared right there. It's not showing up. All right, we've factored by the multiply, divide, and slide method. I'm going to set up these two factors, which are your temporary factors. You need to multiply your leading coefficient, which is 2, and your constant term, which is 12, giving you 24. So I need two factors that will multiply to give me 24 and add to give me 11. Those two factors are 8 and 3. So my temporary factors here are x plus 8 and x plus 3. Temporary because now you need to divide that 8 and 3 by the leading coefficient of 2. So this was the multiply part. This is the divide part. I need to divide each by 2 and reduce it. This reduces to 4. This one does not reduce. So this is the slide part. You slide that 2 in front of the x, and I have 2x plus 3. Now the directions are to find the roots, which means I need to now continue by setting each of these equal to 0. All right, I'm going to come over here. I have x plus 4 equals 0, and 2x plus 3 equals 0. Here, when I subtract 4 from each side, I get negative 4. Here, I'm going to subtract the 3 from each side, giving me 2x equals negative 3, and then divide by 2. So my roots, solutions, zeros, all mean the same, are negative 4 and negative 3 halves. Pause it and do number 6. Number 6 asks you for the h value of the vertex. So we need, that's your hk, and we need h. This is standard form. When it's in standard form, to find the x value, or the h, I'm going to use negative b over 2a, and that'll find me the h value. This is in standard form, so a is 2, b is 1, and c is negative 10. So negative b, that would be the opposite of b, negative 1, over 2 times a, which is 2, giving you negative 1/4. That is h. Now, by the way, if I wanted to find k, I would substitute negative 1/4 back into the original equation. I think we have one like that in a minute. Pause the video and do number 7. Number 7 asks us to determine whether the graph opens up or down and find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to do similar to what I did in number 6 to find my vertex. I'm going to find the vertex first. So I find that by using negative b over 2a. So that's going to give us negative, or the opposite of negative 8, over 2 times negative 4. The opposite of negative 8 is 8. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, giving me negative 1. That is the vertex, the h value of your vertex. Now substitute that value back into your equation to find k. So f of negative 1 would be negative 4 times negative 1 squared minus 8 times negative 1 plus 10. So that's negative 4 times 1. Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8 plus 10. Negative 4 plus 8 plus 10 gives you 14. So your vertex is negative 1, 14. Now, if you recall, to find out if it opens up or down, if A is positive, your parabola opens up. If A is negative, it opens down. A is negative 4, so this one would open downward. And then the axis of symmetry is that vertical line, so it has to be x equals, that goes through the vertex. X is, which one of these, negative 1 or 14? Negative 1. Pause the video and do number 8. Number 8, again, asks you for the h value of the vertex, and this is in vertex form. So remember, when you pull out this h, you pull out the opposite. So h would be negative 2. If I wanted to find k, k would be positive 3. So if it asked for the vertex, it didn't. It only asked for h, so actually I'm finished right here. But if it wanted the vertex, it would be negative 2, positive 3. Pause the video and go to number 9. Number 9 is asking you to graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull out the vertex. So the vertex would be the opposite of negative 4, would be 4, and then the k is negative 1. 4, negative 1. Graph the ordered pair 4, negative 1. Okay, now we need another point. So what I usually do is go 1 point or 1 to the right of my vertex. Right here I have an x-coordinate of 4, so the next x-coordinate is 5. And I find f of 5. This is getting me another ordered pair. I need 3 ordered pairs. This will get me 1, and I'll use symmetry to get the other. So I have 1/2 times 5 minus 4 squared. There should be a squared there on that parabola. So I'm sorry, put that squared there. Minus 1. So I have 1/2. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 squared is 1. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. And that gives you negative 1/2. So this is the ordered pair, 5, negative 1/2. Graph that point, 5, negative 1/2. Your axis of symmetry is that vertical line that goes through the vertex. Now using symmetry, I'm going to go on the other side of the axis of symmetry, the same distance. So this distance is the same as that distance. That's giving me the ordered pair 3, negative 1/2. And that's enough to make a smooth U-curve to graph your parabola. Okay, number 9, pause it and go on and do number 10. Okay, number 10, your vertex is 2, 3, picking out opposite, same, 2, 3. Your axis of symmetry goes through the vertex, and it's a vertical line. That's the only vertical line that goes through the vertex. Now look to the right and pick an x value to the right of the vertex. It doesn't matter which one. I always pick the one immediately to the right, which would be 3 in this case. And then I have 3 minus 2 squared plus 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. And 1 squared plus 3 is 4. This is giving me the ordered pair 3, 4. So I'm going to graph 3, 4. Now using symmetry, I'm going to go, this is 1 unit from here to here. So I'm going to go 1 unit on the other side to get my other point. Okay, and I don't need that horizontal line there, so I'm going to take that out. And there's your graph. Okay, the end.